the beginning, and he's going to ferry in deer as we jump straight into game number 1. Welcome everybody to MarineLorD versus TheMista on Lipony. On the right side, we'll have MarineLorD as blue English, and on the left side, it's Mista as red French.
And take a look at already what we've got inside the queue for that town center. You called it. It was that second scout that is in queue right now. So looking to get out a scout nice and early for TheMista. Very curious decision making. The fact that we are seeing this out of a top level player. I'm looking forward to knowing what he's going to be doing with this. Denying himself a villager here, but going to potentially be picking up a whole bunch of resources as a result.
It is going to help in two ways. First off, you can pick up a lot more sheep, so you have a lot more to work with. And second, once he gets to feudal age, he can get the professional scouts upgrade, something that he also has a discount on thanks to the French. And using that, he can just ferry in deer to his TC. And the thing with that is that it gives him safety above all. So he can have very, very compact eco, just protecting his food eco with his TC, and he can focus his army on his gold mine.
Yeah, that's a really great point. One of the things that we've actually started to see a little bit more out of French players is this one base semi-fast castle play, but with the professional scouts. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing whether we're going to see TheMista go for maybe a 4 or 5 night fast castle, semi-fast castle, I guess you could call it, with at the same time that professional scouts coming in. And a really good point that you mentioned as well, that the cost of those technologies is going to be reduced because of his French bonus. Of course, the French getting multiple economic bonuses, cheaper drop-off sites for their resources, cheaper research, and of course, that very unique villager train time reduction.
Notice the amount of sheep that MarineLorD has right now. He's got 1 sheep following his scout, and he's got like 4 back at home. Compare that to what Mista has. He's got 1 back at home, but 5 on this scout, and additional 4 on this one. So you already see the benefit of having those 2 scouts just to secure sheep at the beginning.
Yeah, a really, really interesting point. Bringing those sheep now over towards the front of his town center and picking up a lot of sheep. Really, this is impressive from him. Now, keep in mind, each map spawns rather differently with regard to the sheep. But typically, you can follow the general rule that they spawn in the middle of the map. And normally, it's the 2 times 3. The 2 different sets of 3 sheep, aka the triple double. But now Mista, his opponent, is going to be aging up MarineLorD, putting down that landmark, the council hall in the front of his base here. Now he's got a pretty good spawn for this. He's going to be quite happy that it'll be spawning into his town center. So a pretty decent spot. But now School of Cavalry going to be going up for the Mista. So no deviations from the norm at this stage, Littlecore.
Are you surprised that the School of Cavalry is being built on the far left instead of placing it close to the gold mine, for instance?
That is a good point, actually. I think in the French mirror, we could probably expect it to be on the gold mine, but I'm suspecting he's probably going to be looking to tower up this gold mine, or just really keep his opponent in his base. But I would note at the moment, he's only got 3 villagers tapping away at that School of Cavalry. How many villagers are tapping away at the council hall? Only 2, so we should have a relatively close age up time because Mista did drop his School of Cavalry down a little bit later. But let's have a look at the transition period. 4 villagers on gold at this point, which is a little bit more than normal. Typically in the transition period, you would see 3 villagers on gold. And that to me indicates that we may indeed see that professional scouts coming out and a single villager coming out to bury. He's going to be dropping down a mill any second. Here it comes. 3, 2, 1. There it is. Mista dropping down that mill now. So probably going to be picking up professional scouts. A really nice insight from you there with that one.
And that is the thing that gives him safety. Like this way, he's gonna have safe hunting, and on this map in particular, it's even better because notice that the 2 players have 1 hunt each at the middle of the map, just right next to each other, and the other hunts are so far out. So
yeah, that's a great point. Their hunts are literally touching. It is really curious, isn't it? I love that that's mirrored though. That's great to see that their hunts are kissing right now. Now kiss. Wow, that's it. Okay. Maybe TheMista has picked up on that, but I don't know. Very curious spawns right now.
it's
Oh
yeah, go ahead.
Go. No. I was just going to comment that
Yeah,
I'm
was
just so confused by it.
I was just about to say that, like, it's possible Mista have picked up on this, but it's also possible this was his initial plan. One thing is sure, you can't just mill these huntables here because it's impossible to defend against a British player that's this close.
Yeah, it is going to be a massive issue for him. We'll take a look at MarineLorD's base. He's now up to the next age. Professional Scout's going to be coming in for the MiSTer, so no surprise. And we do see that tower going up on the gold mine, so getting it in a nice position. Double Scout's going to be moving out, going to begin taking out this hunt in the center of the map. Are we able to take a look at MarineLorD's base, see what he is up to? No stone getting picked up for him just yet at this point, but I will note players do spawn very close to each other on this map in this configuration, don't they? They are barely a screen away from each other. It's absolutely wild how close these guys are.
That's more common on Liponid than it is on other maps like Arabia, so that actually is something that benefits the British player simply because they have lack of mobility. And you see that while the deer may have been killed here, if there is some spearmen and longbows over here, MarineLorD might be able to deny all the deer here from MiSTer.
Yeah, he's going to definitely be able to deny it temporarily, I would say that much. But keep in mind, MiSTer is now moving up towards the north with those scouts. They've got their hunting bows out as well, so undoubtedly he's already right-clicked on a couple of these deers up here, ready to get those bad boys in. Professional Scouts now going to complete as well, and the MiSTer going to be looking in a bit of a difficult spot because this tower is on the wrong side of his gold mine. He may need to drop another mining camp on the other side. I think that's probably going to be a wise choice from him here. But now going to be pushing out a couple of those knights, getting inside the tower, just doing a little bit of defensive pushback.
Here come the deer for the MiSTer. For now, he just invested into professional scouts, and that's a pretty expensive upgrade. But once he gets a couple of deer in, that's gonna pay off. So we're going to see an economy takeover, I think, from MiSTer.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. But we do see that second mining camp coming down now for MiSTer. So taking advantage of his French bonus of those cheaper resource drop-off locations. So definitely not hesitating to put down that second mining camp. Obviously, can delete it later if he doesn't need it, all that sort of good stuff. But no other technologies coming in just yet for him. But definitely a little bit of pressure at the moment, but he's dealing with it quite well, I would say.
He is definitely dealing with it nicely. But the danger here is that if you just let the British build up their army, they will have a mass of like 40, 50 longbowmen in the next 5 or so minutes. So you gotta be careful letting the British just build up their army, not fighting them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And now we actually see MarineLorD in the middle of the map. Going to be in a bit of trouble here because MiSTer is actually looking to pick up reinforcements. And a pretty smart move from him at this point. And now continuing to jostle for position. MarineLorD not actually finding a lot over towards the west of the base for the MiSTer, so he would be very happy at this point. I would say everything is going to plan for the MiSTer at this point.
It does, and as I said, the fact that he's ferrying in deer means that he doesn't have to commit much to protect his food eco. He can just focus on protecting his gold with towers and use his army for aggression.
Yeah, now we see him beginning to move out towards the middle of the map with those scouts. Look at him bringing them back. Knights trying their best and just forcing the units back, but he's going to be very happy with this. Professional Scouts is really great in situations like this, and I love this from him, and I think this is a very strong economic bonus. Now, I'm curious if MarineLorD's going to respond with his own version of Professional Scouts. Are we able to take a look and spot whether we've got any technologies coming through for MarineLorD at this stage?
Good question.
No mills dropped down. No.
Nope, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But we do have a blacksmith coming through though for him. So potentially a +1 upgrade coming through. Nothing just yet. No siege engineers, but now MarineLorD looking to poke and prod at the front here. Undoubtedly going to be looking to get a potential siege technology in shortly. But archers now coming out as well for MiSTer. Getting idled a little bit on gold here, but he's not too fast, I'd say, at the moment. He's got a significant mass, but probably needs a few more before engaging. I suspect he'd be able to take this, but going to be losing one villager, potentially. And the spear's getting a pretty good connection right now on the front line with all of these knights, but I don't know whether there's enough in here. He's going to be pulling back those units one by one. Going to be slicing their way and dicing their way to the front line. And now MarineLorD looking to really put on the hurt. He's doing his best to try and kite out, but all of those spears managing to survive. 2 of them remain, and MarineLorD's quite happy with this trade, I would say, Lurkor.
He has to be very happy because he did force a lot of idle time on the gold of MiSTer. So you see, MiSTer's at 56 gold right now, and one way to sort of halt that knight production is just to idle the gold. And behind this one, MarineLorD's economy is completely untouched.
That's a great point. And speaking of economy, are we able to do a little bit of a stock take at the moment, see how that English villager bonus is going, or rather the French? So 36 now for the Mista. Compare that over to MarineLorD, who's on 35. So only a slight advantage. Now, keep in mind, MarineLorD, or rather the Mista, did make that scout, so technically down an extra villager from that, but still doing relatively well. Maybe losing a villager here. First villager of the game, I think, going down. Is that the first villager that you've seen go down?
I think there was like one or two going down before. I would like to highlight how MarineLorD is using the campfires here, and that's just such a smart way of doing it. We always talk about French Knights being able to charge in, take some damage, kill a few vills, retreat and heal. MarineLorD is doing the exact same thing. Run in the range of the tower, pick off a vill, retreat and heal up with the campfire.
Yeah, it's basically, it's very interesting. It's kind of like playing the same strategy that the French play, just instead of with knights, you're doing it with longbowmen. So very curious. I like that the Mista is now garrisoning inside of his outpost here, just to put a little bit more hurt onto these longbows. But at the same time, looking to continue massing out plenty of villagers on wood for him at the moment. So we're able to do a quick villager count on his wood line, rather, for the Mista. This is going to give us a good indication of what his plans are, whether he's going to look to stay in the feudal age. And it does look like he is at the moment planning to stay in the feudal age with 14 villagers on wood. He doesn't really have a window at the moment to age up to the third age. And I think that would spoil the end of him as well if he did do that. So MarineLorD looking to continue putting on the hurt, and now Mista gathering up more of those hunts in the center.
I appreciate how he's immediately picking up the hunt the moment he has access to it, as MarineLorD is also going to lose his scout, so he might have trouble with vision soon if this continues.
Yeah, I suspect right now, Mista, if he picks up this army, he could be in a really decent position. If we take a look at MarineLorD's base at the moment, we're going to spot out how he's doing. He's adding a second barracks in. So continuing to make those spears at home and not actually rallying his troops across the map. Now, this is something that we've seen players do to counter the French. So French are infamous for picking up reinforcements. You've got to be very careful against them. And so what MarineLorD's actually doing is rallying his units right outside his own base, just making sure they don't get too far out of hand, too far away from the production lines, and then bringing them across together once the mass has increased. But speaking of mass, MarineLorD looking pretty decent right now. Now, these are not Marines, these are longbows, these are spearmen, but I tell you what, they're going to be just as potent as Marines right now as they continue to push in towards the base of the Mista.
Once again, it's going to be one or two villagers picked off and then retreat. Patience is a massive, massive thing here for MarineLorD, but he might be caught off guard a little bit here.
Yeah, I think so. As the spears look to get a nice little blow or a little stab, but they don't manage to do too much. And now Mista actually pushing forward with a lot of bows. This is enough to deal with these spears. So we actually see MarineLorD just fighting head-to-head with the Mista on those spears. But take a look how many knights he's got out right now. This is a huge knight mass. Now, he's not looking to push his advantage, rather. At this point, Mista is just looking to back out. But keep in mind, he has now got a significant advantage when it comes to the knight numbers. So for the next engagement, he's going to need, or he's not going to need as many knights as his opponent is going to need spears. So that was a great engagement for the Mista, even though he didn't capitalize on that because he's fearful of overextending. Still an incredibly good engagement for him.
MarineLorD is coming up with towers here that would give the network of castles bonus to the longbows for attack speed. And this is where things will get ugly for the Mista. Once those towers go up and you see those spearmen and longbows glowing from the attack rate boost, that's where things get ugly for those knights.
Yeah, a couple villagers going to get picked off as well. It looks like one of them almost going down, but not going to be doing it. And now the Mista really looking to capitalize on this push. We see the longbows dropping down that healing circle, trying their best, but Mista actually having to be forced back. A lot of knights on the ground right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I'm counting, as a sixth one also gets picked off. The Mista not looking the best right now. Are we able to check his upgrades? Are we able to see, does he have +1 armor coming through? Almost coming through right now. Iron Undermesh on the way. He really needed to wait for that next, for that upgrade, but take a look at that. The upgrades from MarineLorD. MarineLorD got +1 attack and +1 melee defense right now, so feeling very good for himself, that's for sure.
MarineLorD had that attack upgrade the entire fight, whereas his opponent didn't. Added to the fact that you get the attack rate boost as well from the towers, and suddenly those longbows with the spearman support can just melt those knights. And I think MarineLorD is just one tower away from pushing his opponent off from gold and then completely crippling the knight production.
How much gold is actually left in that gold mine? I suspect it wouldn't be too much. Yeah, less than 1,000 now. So not a lot, but at the same time, you know, it's significant. But now, MarineLorD looking to push in and really do some damage. His longbows, obviously with that +1 attack, going to be able to pierce that armor of his opponent. Keep in mind there is the +1 on that, but MarineLorD doing his best. Looks like he might have taken a learning lesson from Don Artie here as he continues to snipe out all of these archers on the back line. He's doing a great job of doing that and maintaining this mass. It really looks like I'm watching a Don Artie game at this point in time, Lidicor.
Now, there is no more gold income for the Mista, so he's 0 on gold. Making more knights is not really an option, and now it's gonna be very difficult to just match those archer numbers. What are you even gonna do here? You don't have men-at-arms to work with. The best thing you could do is knights, but you don't have gold.
Mista's in a difficult spot. Is this good game at this point? He's lost his scouts in the center of the map. He's no longer going to have a safe food income coming in. He's dropping down a mill down towards the south of the map, but it looks like it might be a bit of an emergency mill. He's got no real safe gold mine down towards that angle. And now the Rams are going to be pushing under the town center. MarineLorD looking like he's in a decent position right now.
He's looking like he's in a great position, and it's one thing that the Mista did expand to the left side, but if he loses the TC and the School of Cavalry, it's game over. And when villagers are being pulled to take down Rams, that's already pretty problematic for the Mista.
Yeah, I think one of the big factors here is this outpost providing that buff up. That network of castles bonus is really going to be helping him out here. We look behind this. MarineLorD's macro has been somewhat impeccable this game. I don't think I've seen a single night raid come down in this direction yet. Have you spotted any villagers go down from MarineLorD yet?
Not at all. He might have lost one villager when he was building these towers over here, but that's basically it.
Yeah, that's kind of wild when you think about it. From the very beginning of this game, MarineLorD has really set the tone and set the aggression levels. So it all comes back to that opening and just MarineLorD really being out on the map immediately at the beginning of the game. So great to see from him. And it looks like now we see towards the south of the base of the Mista, a couple of knights beginning to jostle for position. I don't know if this is going to be enough knights, but they do get their spears out, looking for a bit of a charge, or their jousts, their lancers rather. Spears now coming in, looking to meet them, and Mista trying his best to clean up this force. But on the back line, those longbows are going to be putting out so much damage. Look how low the HP is on the majority of those units, and Mista going to be in a difficult spot as those longbows getting off double shots, really taking him to school and looking very strong.
At this point, Mista is just sort of trying to survive, but it's just impossible. He cannot push this one back at all. Even if he can somehow push this army back, somehow, there are still towers that these longbows can fall back to. And you see, MarineLorD is not overextending. He knows exactly that he doesn't need to destroy his opponent right now. He just needs to grind down those knights.
And that's exactly it. He keeps these knight numbers down. And I think that there was a definite blunder made when that push occurred. Do you remember not too long ago, there was that push out from the Mista. He came in with about 5 or 6 knights. He didn't let them heal up. They all went down, and he lost his knight advantage. Had he kept those knights alive, he could have kept tempo up, and now it looks like he's in a difficult spot as this TC continues to be sieged down by the battering ram. Couple villagers on the corner looking to just gather up some food, it seems. And now the Mista going to be in a difficult position as he continues to fight out, pushing out with knights. But you see them just getting picked off one by one. A couple of spears coming into support, but he doesn't need spears. This longbow mass is too big, and the Mista taps out. GG going over to MarineLorD and taking the first victory with the English. What a game. I'll let you bring us in for game number 2.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to game number 2 in this best of 5 between MarineLorD and the Mista. MarineLorD is on the right side as blue French, and down south we will have the Mista trying to find a suitable location for that town center in red as Mongols.
It looks like he's managed to find one because he's dropped down that town center. He's going to begin chopping his wood and bringing in a couple of sheep nice and close to that town center. We're at the 25-second mark, and the Khan is still right next to the town center. It is a classic Mongol thing. Also going to be dropping down that Uvu nice and early. Hunting cabin already up for MarineLorD as well. Going to begin training a scout. There it comes out now. So MarineLorD getting straight to it. We'll take a look from his perspective and see how his scouting's going so far as he's down towards the south of the map. Going to be spotting up a couple wolves here, Lidicor.
That's a very, very nice start for him. That's 50 gold chasing him. He's got 2 options right now. He can sort of micro his scout and just pick them off, as he's doing right now. or he can just lure them back to the TC. Both of those are an option.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of luring back to the TC, but one of the things we've started to see Hera do is this machine gun scout play, where normally you only save it for the deers, or the deer. I'm not sure what the plural of deers are, but you can basically do the same thing with the wolves, and it takes a lot of APM to do it, but you can machine gun them down very effectively. But we see MarineLorD just bringing them back towards the town center and going to be picking them up, already looking to head towards that first bounty landmark. Are we able to talk a little bit about that, Lytical?
Sure thing. So, as you see, just before we do that, by default, there's a pretty significant attack delay on the scouts, but if you move, you sort of cancel that attack delay and you can shoot again immediately. So that's what Drongo was referring to when it comes to rapid firing. Helps a lot killing those animals and getting the bounty.
Yeah, it's a huge bonus that you can get, because not only are you getting that gold, but you're also getting a food bonus as well. So right now we can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that MarineLorD's got 135 bonus bounty. So he has got the first tier activated. Second tier is going to take 250 bounty, and the final tier is going to be 500. And you can see over the course of the map, he's actually picking up a significant amount of Gaia here. So keep in mind, each individual Gaia unit has got a different bounty. So these wolves, 25 bounty. Those little sheep that are following it, each of those are 5 bounty. And the boar that's just to the south of their current position is worth 75 gold and 75 bounty. So you really want to be getting your hands on that nice and early. And speaking of hands, MarineLorD getting his hands on a couple deer over here. One of TheMista's hunts. So he's not going to be happy that that he's lost this one out.
Speaking of TheMista, he has actually popped the stable and he's getting scouts out himself just to make sure that he can take down the hunt before his opponent can. And as we talked about it, he can be a little aggressive with those scouts. Those have good torch damage, so they can burn down gold mines quite easily.
And look at this from MarineLorD. Age 1, he's dropped down a wooden fortress. He hasn't even aged up. He hasn't even thought about aging up just yet. And he's got almost 400 gold in the bank, and he's dropped down a wooden fortress already. Now, one thing to note about wooden fortresses, they pay off incredibly quickly. So I think that it works out to be something like 3 to 4 minutes if you've just got a handful of villagers on there. So this is a great investment from him.
It is indeed a great investment. He's going up with the Golden Gate, so it's likely he's going to play second town center. With the Golden Gate, you can buy stone at a very, very good rate. You can buy 150 stone for 100 gold. So you need 200 gold to buy yourself the stone needed for a second town center. That's, I think, the most efficient way to get a second town center up in the entire game.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's very, very nice to have this. And I love the combination that he's got going here. But we actually spot TheMista picking off a couple hunt behind the base of MarineLorD. It looks like he's going to manage to even this one up. So very nice from him. We did see down towards the west of the map that MarineLorD actually stole one of the hunts from his opponent. But now it looks like Mista's come back and got one over himself. So not too bad. But despite that, MarineLorD's still sitting on that second tier of bounty. And that's really what your goal is. If you can get to that second tier of bounty, you're feeling very happy with yourself. But a lot of units going to be coming out. A lot of scouts coming out for both players here. Deerstone's going to be dropped down for TheMista. Do you think we're going to see more professional scouts coming out from him?
I think so. He's still pretty heavy on gold. You see, he's got 5 on gold right now. And he made 4 scouts, but never really was aggressive with them. So the only thing that could justify that is if he's trying to pick up the hunt.
Keep in mind he is playing the Mongols, so he could look to put a little bit of aggression on a gold mine potentially. That's one of the things we could see as villagers now having to be forced back. This gold mine's actually quite close to the town center. A little bit of a good spawn here for MarineLorD. We actually see that town center managing to fire off on the scouts. Very unfortunate, because normally, almost in all circumstances, you can get this mining camp down as the Mongols, but going to be having a bit of a difficult time with it.
2 more scouts for Mista. He's up to a grand total of 6. That's a pretty big investment into scouts. I feel like now you're just grabbing professional scouts simply because you have so many scouts that you can swoop up an entire patch of deer immediately.
Yeah, it feels great to be able to do this, and it's probably him recognizing that against the Rus, you want to do this sooner rather than later. And speaking of sooner, we see that upgrade coming in now. Professional scouts going to be coming in. So I guess the first question is he going to be looking to secure his own hunts as the first port of call? Or is he going to be looking to steal out his opponent's hunt? He's playing against the Rus. Do we see... There's no real gold at this point saved up for MarineLorD. So to me, it doesn't look like he's going to be investing in that, but double stable getting dropped down here at Lidacor.
Double stable indeed. The question I think right now for TheMista is how is he going to defend against that? Because a single barrack spearman won't be sufficient against double stable knights.
What about a single barracks with spearman on an Uvu?
Possible.
Okay.
But keep in mind that TheMista spent a lot of his stone on the scouts. So of course he can still pop out some double spearman, and he's doing it right now, but he spent a considerable amount of stone on his scouts as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So now we actually see, so he's extending out that YAM network, getting it out towards the direction, and really just securing this goal, but being annoying with this Khan. We saw a couple scouts chasing away the Khan, but now the Khan just putting out a little bit of damage on this gold mine. Very frustrating to deal with, and going to be securing this first hunt. MarineLorD not going to be too fast at this point, going to be scouting that out and understanding the circumstances of the situation. We see the first Lancers now going to be coming out, and a couple of Spears just keeping guard of this gold mine. I'm expecting we are going to be seeing some sort of fast castle coming out of TheMista here. He is a big fan of the castle age, so probably looking to get that step redoubt in. It's a great landmark, and one of the strongest in the game, I would say.
And the fact that he's able to ferry in deer helps at a fast castle, because he can focus all his defensive spearmen on this little location, and he can just bring in the food he needs with the scouts.
Combine that with the fact that he's buffing that up already with the deer stones. It's going to be increasing that gather rate. Very nice for him. But now, towards the north of the map, it looks like we've got some villagers moving out towards the first hunt for MarineLorD as the Lancers chase away the Khan. So there it is, a hunting cabin getting dropped down. This is a dangerous hunting cabin investment, I would say. Just because, first and foremost, you're playing against the Mongols, so it's pretty out there to do that. But second of all, you know he's got professional scouts, so he's probably going to just be yoinking that bad boy very, very soon.
That is absolutely true. I feel like it's more about, I'm just gonna try to get as much of it as I can before my opponent swoops in and takes it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we do see maybe one or two of them go out, but now we see the income per minute, and you can really see the difference between these two players at this point. Mr. having a significant food advantage here, and that is just really using up all of that deer that's under his town center. He's feeling very good about himself. Now going to be dropping down a blacksmith in the middle of his base as well. Probably going to be moving this out towards the Uvu very shortly. Though I don't think there's actually a lot of good upgrades in the blacksmith, at least at this stage of the game. Nice little spear mass for him, though.
One of the more underappreciated things of the YAM network is that it boosts the speed of your spearman in this case, and that helps you react against the knights. So it doesn't take a lot of time to get from this gold mine to the food line for the spearman, helping you react against those knight raids.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It definitely does help with your mobility. And speaking of mobility, now towards the north of the map, TheMista coming up to snipe out the third hunt of the game. So really looking to secure all the food and looking a lot stronger in this matchup than in the first game that we played. We did obviously see Mr. going down the score currently at the moment 1-0 to MarineLorD, but using professional scouts or utilizing it there, and I'd say very standard play at the moment from TheMista. Now going to be dropping down that step redoubt that we talked about earlier. Tell us a little bit about this landmark, Lidacor.
So the step redoubt is basically a gur, which is the universal drop-off building for the Mongols. You can drop off any resources there except stone, but the step redoubt also boosts the amount of resources you drop in there. So it's already a good landmark to work with, but the beauty of this one is that you can replace it elsewhere just as much as you can with other buildings. So you place it on your gold mine, you get a nice gold income boost from that, and when the gold mine runs out, you just place it elsewhere. So this is a landmark that becomes relevant for the entire game, not just for the duration you have your gold mine close to it.
Yeah, it's a really great boost to the economy. Now, obviously, keep in mind, that's only if there's gold around, but there's plenty of gold out on this map at the moment. 2 large gold mines on opposing sides of the map, as well as a couple of nice, safe gold mines at the back there for Mr. So he's going to be feeling pretty good about himself.
He has to feel very happy with this one. So far, his opponent wasn't really able to do that much damage. Speaking of MarineLorD, however, I see double ranges being dropped, and an Abbey of Trinity, could we maybe see cavalry archers here from the Rust player?
Yeah, we definitely could. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see them. Cavalry archers quite strong, as long as they've got that front line to deal with the tanking. But now we see the Gur getting moved away from that gold mine. Villagers going to be dropping in on the step redoubt and going to be cleaning up those resources. But now that Gur heading out, got to be careful. It looks like it might be getting into a bit of a tough position as the Mongol spears move out. Take a look at the movement speed on those bad boys as they run out at top speed. And plenty of movement speed there to try and chase away the enemies.
So far, Mista is going for a second barracks, though, and he's gonna play Lancers. This could work, but it's a little scary because he's only gonna have a handful of Lancers out, and his Spearmen would die really badly to Cav Archers, although now we're seeing some Men-at-Arms being added as well.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see whether we have a Men-at-Arms / Lancer combination coming out. Now, MarineLorD's the type of guy who's going to pick up on this straight away and may potentially just switch straight into crossbows. And he would definitely not be in a fuss. But now it looks like a boar going to be getting picked up there towards the north. MarineLorD sitting at 455 bounty. A single boar remains on the map. Is that boar still alive? I'm curious to go and spot. It is still alive. So perhaps MarineLorD looks to secure the final kill on that boar and take himself up to that 500 bounty.
He needs to do that, because the other landmark you could age up to Castle Age with would give you deer spawned throughout the entire game. So you would basically have infinite deer, and at some point you would get to the level 3 bounty. But that's not the case if you're going up with the Abbey of Trinity, so you gotta kill those boars and get to level 3 bounty.
Yeah, are we able to take a look from the perspective of TheMista? I want to have a look at his line of sight, because one thing that I'm noticing is all around the map, he has got scouts. He's got scouts in stealth forests. He's got scouts just hanging out everywhere. He has got he's got tabs everywhere right now on his opponent. And speaking of tabs, we've got some Springalds going down. And keep in mind, the Mongols can make their Springalds without a siege workshop. They can just get these guys out and about on the map as long as they've got that improved siege engineering, which is exactly what TheMista has researched. So going to be combining spears with Springalds and doing a little bit of scouting. There's a timing window here, though, Lidakor. These Springalds could really spell the end of MarineLorD.
They definitely could, because while they're not necessarily good against massed units, it's just about the volley that they fire kills the first batch of Cav Archers, and then it's very, very difficult to recover from MarineLorD. In general, we're looking at 40 army for Mista, and MarineLorD is only at 17.
Yeah, so there's definitely a huge window for him. He can win this game in the next couple of minutes as long as he secures that lead. And look at the Springalds that continue to build up right now. Mista really taking advantage of the current Springald meta. And I tell you what, it's starting to look a little bit concerning for MarineLorD.
It definitely does. TheMista did the same build with the Abbasids on Hillandale, I think in the final set of the qualifiers. And
now going to be dropping down a ram. Ooh.
Here comes the battering ram. Right now, MarineLorD cannot fight. The core concept for MarineLorD is that he needs to turtle as much as possible and then take one decisive fight. He's got a relic, so he might try to get a conversion.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, though, against that many Springalds. Keep in mind, Springalds are great at dealing damage against high HP targets or high priority targets. So if he tries to get any kind of conversion off, it's just going to get shut down straight away. The reload rate on these Springalds is just too quick. Not enough HP on those Warrior Monks. I think it would take maybe 2 or 3 hits from the Springald to actually deal with that Warrior Monk. But now, on the south side of the map, it looks like MarineLorD going to begin a little bit of a flanking maneuver as he attempts to close the gap here. We see plenty of Lancers coming out for his opponent as the players now begin to diverge on the center. Horse Archers going to do their best to try and pick up these spears, and MarineLorD dives in on top of the Springalds. The battering ram just sits idly by, watching as the battle continues to unfold, and MarineLorD having a difficult time as he gets forced back. Springalds doing their best to deal damage, and now Mista looks like he's in quite a commanding position at this point.
He most certainly is. He's got Springalds behind the wood line, so not only is he destroying MarineLorD's army, he's also shattering his entire economy.
Part of the reason why Mongols is so strong is their ability to get out units very quickly, and that's exactly what we've seen TheMista do here with plenty of units coming out. I'm curious how many of these were actually paid for with that stone. Undoubtedly, there would be a lot, but now we actually see a mangonel coming out. Look how fast this mangonel gets built. It is incredibly quick. Less than 5 seconds, that bad boy comes up. So now going to be able to put out a lot of damage here on the front line. TheMista continuing to rally in troops, and I love the way he's using the Springalds to kill the villagers. Hilarious.
I mean, it's definitely a very efficient way of doing this, and the real magic of this build here for the Mista is that it's one thing that the mangonels build fast, but it spawns on the battlefield. You don't need to send it from home to the battlefield, and you see that MarineLorD is trying to intercept reinforcements, so mangonels like that could be exposed if it isn't built on the battlefield itself.
That's exactly it, and he's not going to have too much luck with it because all of these reinforcements have already made their way up towards the front. Plenty of men-at-arms, and it looks like GG gets called. MarineLorD typing out. TheMista evens up the score. It's 1-1. Both players still having French available at this point, and we've seen a Mongol victory and an English victory in this series so far. I'm curious if he's even going to play water. He may just not. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third game. We've got MarineLorD, who spawns in on the Mongols, going to be placing down his town center in an absolutely beautiful position. He's got a gold. He's got a tree line. That's everything he wants and everything he needs. Got to be careful. Oh, villager almost canceling that that town center getting dropped, and now going to be picking up that Uvu as well. And spawning on the opposite side of the map in a pretty safe position, we've got his opponent, TheMista, who is getting out that early scout. We actually see a second scout already coming from his town center, and I believe he's got another scout up to the north. So double scout opening for him and heading straight to his opponent's side of the map. And Khan actually going to be spotting this one out. Lidakor, how do you think this match is going to unfold?
First of all, the thing we'll have to look at is how aggressive MarineLorD plays in Dark Age. As you see, he's already moving up with a villager for dock, finding the best spot of the river. This is the one that has the most fish. The northern side is kind of barren.
It is very barren, isn't it? There's a couple of fish up towards that sacred site, but other than that, it doesn't really look to be too much. On the south side, though, plenty of fish, and that dock going to be going down in a pretty safe spot right there along the middle crossing. So definitely going to be a lot of fighting happening in this direction. But take a look at the sheep already gathered up from TheMista. They're going to have to rename him to the Shepherd after this one. Take a look at his other scout on the other side of the map. Oh, TheMista is having an absolute field day here. He may not even think about going for the middle here. May just let his opponent go for the docks in the middle and just take out all of these sheep. He's going to be very happy with himself.
Absolutely. In fact, at this pace, MarineLorD is just gonna start to sleep, counting all the sheep that his opponent has.
Well, it's not over just yet because there's a couple more sheep outside of his base that it looks like Mister's going to pick up. Now, I'm curious, what is the appropriate response to this? Are we able to check quickly, how is the Mister's macro? How many villagers does he have on wood? One villager on wood at this stage of the game. Are we able to switch to his perspective? I want to see his villager count. Actually got 2 villagers there on wood at the moment. We might see, is there the potential, a outpost going to come up? That's what that gold is, or wood is for. So an outpost going to go down on the gold, and Mr. learning from his mistakes and going to be securing that gold up nice and early. I do like this play from him.
He needs to secure that gold mine, especially against the Mongols. If 3 scouts show up, they can just burn that mining camp down, and that's it.
It's a really good call for him to be going this. Now, keep in mind, MarineLorD is basically just going to have free run over the middle map here. But obviously, the payoff or the counter to that is that TheMista has picked up so many sheep. Are we able to get a sheep tally right now? What's the sheep count at? We've got 21 sheep here for TheMista. If you're a fan of sheep, can I get some ones in the chat right now, fellas? Because I tell you what, I'm a big fan of sheep, especially 21 sheep. How much have each of these sheep got? They've got, what, 2,500? Is it 2,500 or 250 food? So 21 times 250. Really cool. I'm not good at maths, but that's a lot.
5,250.
It looks like you're good at maths, so I'm glad that's one of us. And a lot of ones in chat right now. I'm adding them all up, and I've come to a total of 1,111 ones. So you guys are very excited to see all these sheep.
That's a lot of food.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge amount of food. It's the equivalent of 2 entire deer hunts that he's got back there. So really nice. Compare that over to MarineLorD, who is just sitting now with a small amount of sheep. You know, a very small 8 sheep, but hey, better than nothing. Now, do compare that to his fish access. Now, he's got access to about 5,000 fish, or 5,000 food of fish just in this south region. So if we were to take a look just below his dock, there are plenty of fish out and about on the map. So he's got 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th one up there, and then a couple more down here, a little bit further away for him to invest in. So he may look at putting down a second dock, but MarineLorD now going to be aging up as well. Going to be going up with the Deer Stone, so no real surprise there for MarineLorD to be going up with those Deer Stones. But School of Cavalry already on the way, 4 villages on that School of Cavalry as well. He wants to get that one up yesterday.
He needs to, because he knows exactly that it's one thing that he's got quite a lot of sheep, but his economy is much, much weaker. MarineLorD is at 23 vills, and Mista is only at 19, and the difference comes from those fishing ships pretty much.
Yeah, I'm curious what the Mista's response is going to be to this, whether he looks to get a potential second town center, or if he's adverse to that. So the way I think about this kind of thing is that you could potentially match up a dock boom with a second town center, but there's a bit of a tempo advantage that you've got by going for this early dock, and a window period that you can pick out. We actually see a little bit of a fishing boat dance happening right there as it tries to deliver some food back to its dock, getting stuck in the corner, but it looks like it's been fixed up. But yeah, there's definitely a window here. Mista now going to be towering up the shoreline. I do like this play from him.
MarineLorD is popping the Scouting Falcon on that crossing, so he will know exactly if anything is crossing. And speaking of crossing, that School of Cavalry is now done, but there is no cavalry coming out of it right now for Mista.
Yeah, I would suspect that we probably see very shortly. Has he got a mill coming out just yet? I would not be surprised to see. Yeah, he doesn't have it. Professional Scouts. He's got enough gold for it, or at least just slightly. But I wouldn't be surprised to have that one out relatively soon for him. There's the mill going down now, so I would not be surprised for that one to come out. He's used it in every single game today so far, so he's a big fan of this technology. Likes to use it on the one base play that he's got.
And he's gonna have a lot of food beneath that town center with professional scouts. It's already 5,000 food from the sheep, and then you add some hunt. And a combination of knights and archers will be able to push the army of MarineLorD away and potentially contest that dock.
And speaking of contesting that dock, Tower actually cancelled on the front line. So MarineLorD reinforcing that position with a couple of spears. When I say a couple, there's 8 of those bad boys that are chilling out there right now. So he's now getting that upgrade, going to get those hardened spearmen in the H2 and dropping down an archery range. So looking to go with a infantry composition here, which is definitely the wise choice, opening up with the Deer Stones.
It is, and you can easily expand your aura with some towers. I think the key thing would be to hold this crossing in the first place, and then use that control to start pushing into the base of the Mista.
Speaking of pushing into the base of the Mista, he tried to get a little bit of a look down here towards the south, but Mista cleaning him up on the crossing with a knight. And the question is he going to look to potentially get some cavalry down towards the base, but light junk coming out now for MarineLorD? And keep in mind, if he maintains control of this stretch of river, it is significantly powerful. Even though he doesn't have access to the walls in playing the Mongols, he has access to one unit that is currently, in my opinion, broken as hell. And that is the demo ship, the fire demo ship. It is insane. Have you seen these things?
Yeah, they feel a little weird because sometimes they just have such a massive explosion radius that they feel like they could just snipe down units from like 3-4 tiles distance.
Yeah, it's a huge radius that they've got. And obviously, it's indiscriminate damage towards your enemy units. There is no sort of limit to how much damage there is. There's no cap on it at all. You can wipe out as many units as you can fit around that bad boy. So it's a very tough position for the Mista in this position, because he's down about 250 score at the moment. And his opponent, MarineLorD, is looking to go up to that castle age very soon.
Look at how MarineLorD has popped the Scouting Falcon close to the hunt of his opponent. He wants to see if Mista is going for the hunt. Mista hasn't gotten professional scouts just yet. Instead is moving to the north with the Knights. This might be the first time for him to be able to hit MarineLorD's base here.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's going to be difficult for him to be able to do that. And we actually see now in the back of the base of MarineLorD, it looks like we may have a blacksmith getting dropped down here potentially. It is indeed a blacksmith, so probably looking at getting those +1 upgrades. But now towards the north, it seems that there's a villager that was trying to put down an outpost, may have gotten picked off, a scout popping out his line of sight, but now MarineLorD fending off this attack. Plenty of spears out here in the middle for him as well.
He's got enough to take a direct fight, especially if you consider that there is, I think, some more reinforcements coming soon. But the key thing
Yes.
for him is that he keeps his fishing eco alive, so he technically has an eco advantage as the step redapt is on the way. So he's going to beat his opponent to Castlage by a quite considerable margin.
Yeah, and in addition to that, he's got a lot of villagers on that, so that thing is coming down quickly. And I guess my question is at this point, how is TheMista going to be able to keep up with MarineLorD? Because if we take a look from MarineLorD's perspective, he's going to have a pretty decent stockpile of stone. He's sitting on about 300 at the moment. So he's going to be able to use that stone and invest it in things like lances, men-at-arms, and then in addition to that, he's going to be able to potentially research the upgraded version of siege engineering. And just like MarineLorD did, or just like TheMista did to him in game number 2, he could look to push him with a significant Springald mass. At the moment, it looks like TheMista may have recognized that this window is existent and he cannot afford to age up to the 3rd age. I am of the opinion that if TheMista ages up to the 3rd age, he loses the game. He needs to try and stay in age 2. He needs to continue massing at this point, and he needs to try and out-survive this fish economy from his opponent.
It is going to be difficult for him because he's going to be facing a Castle Age army with only Feudal Age units, and his main unit is going to be Knights, which still will get picked off by the Springalds if the Springalds have some meat shield in front of them.
Yeah, he needs to try and push as soon as this Castle Age happens. But keep in mind, I'm curious to see whether the docks are going to have any demo ships in it. We're actually seeing multiple docks now coming out. No demo ships queued up just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just keeps a single demo ship back here so that in the event he needs to fall back, that is going to be a massive safety net for him. Blacksmith, he's still yet to move over towards that Uvu, but Step Redoubt sitting very happily there, going to be collecting up all that gold. Iron Undermesh now coming through as well for TheMista, so he's going to be feeling pretty happy. And now we do have that Siege Engineering come through. Now, keep in mind, that is not the improved Siege Engineering, so this will allow them to construct battering rams and siege towers, but that is it. They will not be able to construct mangonels or springalds just yet unless they get that improved version. So that is something to look out for.
One thing to look at is that when you get the first technology, which is 50 wood and 125 gold, if you get that, you don't have to pay the 50 wood and 125 gold cost of the improved version. You just have to pay the stone price difference.
Correct. But one thing to note is it does still take all that extra time.
Absolutely.
So your blacksmith's going to be busy. And speaking of busy, Mr. Busy heading up to the 3rd age now. He thinks he has found a window here. Going to be dropping down the guild hall, which is the correct decision, at least for the moment. But I'm a little bit concerned about this window here. We talked about it earlier. There are a lot of units out for MarineLorD. He's got the upgrades in, and Mr. is going to be doing his best to try and keep up with it.
Now, it's a little surprising of a decision from MarineLorD not to go for the improved siege engineering immediately, because he had the stone to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It does seem strange that he would not go for that, especially against France, where your Springalds are just going to be so damn strong against their Knights. I think you get 4 Springalds out, and it's going to be enough to one-shot a Knight. So you just basically get 4 Springalds, and you just shift-click all the Knights, and you look away, and you come back, and all the Knights are dead, and you're a very happy camper. But now, a battering ram going to be rolling in towards the base of TheMista. Going to be focusing down the archery range, it looks like, initially. So Mr. has a handful of archers out at the moment, or it looks about 2 handfuls of archers at the moment. So he could be able to push in on this, but only a few cavalry units out for him, not a whole lot.
Oh, looks like it's gonna be a surround, though. And there's only a handful of spearmen, so MarineLorD has to be careful. But with the Yum speed, he can reinforce his army very fast. Men-at-arms appearing on the battlefield in a couple of moments.
Yeah, now going to start working in on that first landmark for MarineLorD. Looking pretty strong in this position. He's got a bit of a score lead, about 400 points up at this point in time. And yeah, it definitely looks like Mr. is trying to get that flank in. I'm curious from the perspective of MarineLorD. Does he actually spot this out down towards the south?
Oh.
He doesn't spot those. Oh, they're coming around now. So going to take him a little bit by surprise as this flank attempts to come out. He looks to connect with the spears on the front line and looking to break them up. The attack speed arrow now going to be coming out, picking off that villager, no longer going to have that Yam network, and now the Knights coming in from multiple angles. Mr. putting the micro moves on MarineLorD. We got a couple M's right now, a little bit of alliteration. At the same time, we've got the Ram that continues to hit down that landmark, but MarineLorD looking very strong as his spears deal effectively with those Knights. Archer's going to be trying their best to deal damage here, but still MarineLorD doing very well. No upgrades coming through just yet for TheMista. No veterancy. Oh, I take that back. Veterancy just coming through right then, I think, as we clicked on those units. And actually going to be able to hold a couple scouts getting in on the action as well. Lidicor, I think he's held.
He has held. He has waited patiently enough to get the upgrades in from Castle Age, and he used those Royal Knights to charge him from 2 directions. And MarineLorD simply didn't have enough spearmen to fight this one.
Now, one of the things that MarineLorD does have an excess of in this position is gold. Take a look at that. He's stacking up plenty of gold. So one of the things to note, has he got that improved version? Still no improved siege engineering at this point. So a little bit, I would almost say a little bit of a mistake right here from him. In the second game, we did see TheMista on the Mongols. We saw so many Springles out from him. And I would be expecting to see the same thing out from MarineLorD here, but it almost looks like he's just not appreciating the strength of the Springlord enough here.
I also think that he could use a couple of crossbows, because right now he's mostly facing knights, and even just a handful of crossbows would help so much as the Ovu is depleted. There's multiple new positions for an Ovu, and it looks like he's going to the right side, not the big stone down south.
Yeah, one of the things to note is when you do move this Uvu, obviously you're going to be losing out a whole bunch of your ability to train out double units or get those techs in that you love to see, but anything that's queued up is still going to be able to do it as long as there's stone in the bank for you to do it. But yeah, once that Uvu's gone, that is it. The Uvu is depleted. But now, let's take a look over at Mister's base. Is he gathering up any stone at this point? Doesn't look
like it. He's got 0 in the bank, and he's not getting any either. It's not like he has a super safe stone mine right now. Like, this one could be exposed, and this one is just probably too far away for him.
Are we able to take a look at the guild hall and see what resource that's on?
He's grabbing food.
On food. Okay. So, as to be expected. And now, going to be finally burning down that school of cavalry and moving in a lot of units here on the front line. A little bit of a flank on the backside now as the knights manage to connect with those archers. A lot of knights out here right now for Mista. He is looking like he might be in a bit of a dominating position, Lidicor.
He is. I feel like MarineLorD underappreciated the armor of those knights, and you see, the archers don't do much against them.
They do have +2 armor, so no wonder why they're just taking so little damage. So we click on the archers, and we see how much damage they've got. So it's probably going to be sitting around the 9 mark. Yeah, 9 damage versus 6 armor. So they are only doing 3 damage a pop. And these guys got 230 HP. That would mean if you wanted to one-shot a knight, you would need, I'm just going to do some quick math here, 77 archers would be one-shotting it. So they're only doing 3 damage. So you really need to get those better units that are great at targeting that down, whether that's things like the crossbow, the springled. Spears probably aren't going to cut it at this point, though.
Yeah, spears in general are not amazing against knights. They fare well as long as the opponent doesn't have a lot of knights, but they become a little obsolete.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that they do become obsolete towards that point in the game, but now we see a little bit of a raid coming in right here. MarineLorD's got to be careful. A couple spears coming out, doing a good job of just repelling the raid, and we see them buffed up by those YAM networks. Going to be doing their best to try and chase those down, but have a look at the damage up here. Mista trying to sneak a dock up here. You little sneaky Mista, you. But looks like MarineLorD's going to be able to chase this one down. No dock for you.
Looks like arrow slits are coming in for these outposts, so MarineLorD kind of feels like needs a lot more firepower here to even hold this crossing, as right now he's just forced to chase those knights that are absolutely annihilating the spearmen.
Yeah, it's a very curious decision, but I'm curious why we haven't seen any demos yet. Players maybe not realizing the true strength of the demolition ship. You keep one at each crossing, and I tell you what, you're going to have a party. But speaking of parties right now, Spearman getting in on the action. Got to be careful here. Mista looking away for 1 second too long, and a knight does go down. Those spears going to continue to build up, and now knight's going to continue to siege. We see that Deerstone's landmark moving back to the other side of the river to a little bit of safety. And now, is there a window here for Mista to finally add an economic building of some sort?
He has the guild hall, so that definitely helps, and you see he never withdrew the resources from it. So basically, the more you have in the bank here, the more resources it generates. And at this point, he has possibly even the advantage. So he should just sit on this and wait as long as possible to withdraw the resources from there.
Well, speaking of advantage, at the moment, MarineLorD looking like he is ahead on score. But keep in mind that there's no guarantee that that is accurate because he is playing the Mongols. And one of the things that we know about the Mongols is you can't actually trust their score. So for anybody looking at that and thinking, all right, MarineLorD's up by 1,300 points, my points are safe, that's not the case. There is a bit of a bug at the moment with regard to the Mongols and the way their score is calculated. But now, Knights moving in underneath the town center. There's not going to be enough room in this town center for all these villagers as they do their best to get inside. But unfortunately, there's only room for 20 at this party. Get out of the way. And those Knights now trying their best to get some damage in. And speaking of damage, we got plenty of units now moving back towards the base of the TheMista. Action all over this map at this point, Lidiko.
Indeed, action all over. Right now, the big thing, though, is that Mista only has a handful of Knights that are fairly heavily battered at the base of MarineLorD, whereas MarineLorD's army feels a lot more convincing that's about to push Mista's base.
He needs something to deal with these melee units, though. He's got spears in here. It looks like a couple of men-at-arms as well. It's hard to tell. No, it's actually just 23 spears at this point. We've got ourselves a little bit of a freeze, but it's now come back out as the second battering ram gets built as well. And MarineLorD really looking to go in for the kill right now. Plenty of spears out here. Going to be trying their best to deal with these Knights. We'll take a look and see whether the TheMista is going to be able to make it out here. A lot of archers on the back line. Going to be focusing down the archers of the TheMista as well. And MarineLorD definitely looking to pull ahead at this point as those spears actually manage to overwhelm the Knights of their opponent. A couple more Knights going to be coming in, looking to take down that Khan, focusing it down. But keep in mind, I think he has fired off his arrow today. No, it was on cooldown, rather. And now the main town center of the TheMista going to be worked at, and plenty of units now remaining for MarineLorD out on this field. We see a couple of Knights back in the base of MarineLorD, but this is all being dealt with very effectively by a couple men-at-arms and a couple of spears. Is there any way that TheMista gets back into this game at all, Litter?
It's might be possible. It depends on how many Knights he can field really fast over here to overrun the Spearman. The difficult thing is that he's got a very small window, because the moment this DC goes down, the next target is the guild hall, and if he loses that, the game is over.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He has actually withdrawn all of the food out of that guild hall, so it looks like it might have come in a little bit too late here. He's trying his best to clean this up, but it seems like spears have actually been quite an effective counter against these Knights. So just a trash army here, consisting of food and wood units, is going to be all it needs to really put the nail in the coffin as the battering rams continue to move forward. And actually, he brings them back. It looks like he was kind of thinking about going for the archery range. I think he's had a little bit of a weird waypoint. Oh, okay, I see what he's done. He's just brought his battering rams over towards the right side of that guild hall just to avoid the villagers. And we see those villagers coming in now as the Knights do their best to try and clean up the remaining army. And all of those archers there going to be doing their best to try and take down these villagers. This is a tough game right now for the TheMista. Definitely getting pushed to his limits right now.
The problem for him is that even if he somehow survives this, he's gonna be so much on the back foot. His opponent's economy hasn't been touched for a long time, and you see that he has to scramble over the villas to just keep that one landmark alive so he survives somehow.
Yeah, he really is trying right now to bring it together, but he's sitting right now currently at about 500 gold. He's just market traded a whole bunch of gold. He must have a market up somewhere because his gold income just went absolutely crazy. There's the market behind that guild hall, and a couple of units out for him now. Just a few of those Knights coming out, but a new Khan has risen, going to be coming in and reinforcing. I feel like that Khan literally just died a moment ago. Those two battering rams trying their best to end this game. You see them really committing, and it looks like he might actually be committing to this guild hall right now. He's got all of his units sitting on top, but as I say that, it looks like the battering rams actually fall back for these houses, and he realized he may have overextended as he falls back. Plenty of archers in here, Litter, and he's gonna...
There's quite a lot of crossbows in the party, though, so it's gonna be more and more difficult for Mista to clean this up, and killing that house makes some sense. You get the gold and food with the Mongols for burning it down.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, the fact that he's mixing in crossbows makes it really difficult to deal with here. And I expect as the game continues on, we're going to see more spears coming in, more crossbows coming in. And that's exactly what we see as the spears begin to make their way across the map and reinforce here. And really going to be switching into these units that are very effective against these Knights. But I love that he's really got to start doubling up on these counters to effectively deal with it, as we spot more crossbows now making their way in towards this mass. MarineLorD really looking to put the nail in the coffin right now as the battering rams move towards that final landmark. And we've got Knights now getting in on top, and good game gets called. The TheMista tapping out, and 2-1 goes over to MarineLorD. He is now on match point. Lidicor, what a game.
as we are jumping into game number 4. Mista needs to win here. On the right side of the map, we will have MarineLorD as French in blue. And once again, it looks like we have a yellow color for one of the players. This time around, that's going to be Mista as French as well.
Yeah, interestingly, I'm not sure how this happens or why it happens, but nonetheless, it looks like they've managed to work something out here. So who knows, maybe we see a little bit later in the day when Viper plays that he's only playing as the yellow. We'll have to wait and we'll have to see. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is match point right now. MarineLorD is up 2-1 against TheMista. So if he is victorious in this French mirror, he moves on to the semifinals.
Funnily enough, the 2 colors that we have the players for are the exact 2 colors that we have on the French flag in the game, as a little trivia. And as we look at the map, the first thing to note is that we have very, very little crossings in here. Now, this map can spawn with a pretty high variety of crossings. Sometimes you just have one crossing in the middle, sometimes you have multiple wide crossings. This one seems to have a completely locked left side. It's difficult to say if you can actually pass around this area.
I think you probably might be able to pass just because of that grass texture that's there.
That's what I'm thinking as well, but that might be a very, very sneaky crossing.
Is there any way through on the other side? Yeah, there's a way through here as well. It looks like there might... Can we get a camera rotate just on that middle part of the section right there? See where that grass... Oh, I don't think they might be able... I don't think they're going to be able to get up that. Oh, maybe there's a way.
You can get up here.
Yep, there's a way. All right, I think you can get through that. Chat, what do you guys think? I'm suspecting chat reckons that you probably can get through that. I know chat's good at dealing with tight spaces. So probably chat is going to support that. Some people saying gap, some people saying no gap. Interesting. But yeah, quite a big opening up towards the north though, isn't there?
Yeah, it's the only opening, however, so if this ever gets into a stalemate situation, we could be in for a very, very long game. And I think that we have just seen the scout pass here, if I'm not mistaken, from MarineLorD.
We did indeed, yes. So you can indeed get there. Congratulations, chat. You have won the prediction. But yeah, it's good to see. So if we go down south a little bit further, there's another... Is that even an opening over there? Maybe down towards the left?
You can get to the top of the hill, but you can't go down. Now,
stick some cheeky cannons up there, potentially.
It's worth noting that when you're on top of the hill, you actually have more line of sight. So staying up here for whichever player, for example, would give them insane vision around this area.
We're going to see MarineLorD now dropping down his School of Cavalry. This is an early School of Cavalry, but I'm going to be dropping it down with 2 villagers. We'll take a look over at TheMista. He's dropped down his landmark as well. And we'll see how many villagers he's got on that. It looks like 3 villagers tapping away at that. So aging up, probably TheMista a little bit ahead of his opponent, but we'll watch what they do in the transition period. MarineLorD has a lot of villagers on gold right now. This is a huge amount of villagers on gold. 7 or 6 villagers on gold. I don't know if this is a miss macro or what is going on here. Maybe he's just looking to secure a specific amount of gold and then move these villagers on to a different resource. That's a lot of gold. That is way more than you would typically see. If we take a look over at his opponent, let's go have a look at TheMista. How many villagers has he got on his gold?
He's also got 5. It's gonna be double. 5. It's gonna be double scouts hunting. Because you see that the MarineLorD already made a mill, despite the fact that he's not even using the berries. And the same thing is being done by Mista. It's gonna be double scout hunting, and considering all these hunts are quite exposed, that probably makes a lot of sense here, especially in French Mirror. That's very punishing if you lose control of your hunt.
Yeah, this is a great point. So we're seeing these French mirrors continue to evolve. So both players anticipating that it's going to be important for them to get control over those hunts. So today we have seen in all 4 games that Mista has gone for professional scouts every single time. So you can really see how much he cares about having this safety of those underneath his town center. So he's going to be picking up that tech. MarineLorD going to be picking up that tech as well. Incredible stuff.
As you said, it's 3 villagers for Mista on that School of Cavalry, only 2 for MarineLorD, so Mista's gonna be slightly faster to Feudal Age here, which will give him like half a night of an advantage or so.
Yeah, but obviously that is going to be mitigated as he moves out across the map. Obviously, the defender advantage is that you're closer to your reinforcements, so even if he looks to potentially trade out here, not going to have a super duper advantage. May potentially pick off a villager though, but we'll see how it unfolds And now it looks like a scout is going to be what comes out of that that school of cavalry. Is that right? Is that an additional scout, or is that his only scout? That might be his only scout.
No, it's a second scout.
It's a second scout. All right, we had a scout come out as the first unit, so undoubtedly he's going to be looking to pick up more of those hunts. Both players now looking to secure up that all-important technology. Have we got it in queue just yet for both players? We'll check on MarineLorD. Professional Scout's going to be coming in, and we check in on TheMista, and of course Professional Scouts is on the way. So whether they look to secure their own hunts, I suspect that's probably what we're going to see. Both players probably looking to play a little bit more defensively. MarineLorD actually has a number of scouts in queue on his landmark. So yeah, multiple scouts coming through for him, and yeah, we see 2 scouts in queue at the moment. So players both looking to just get one knight out on the field initially and then begin scout production. So pretty smart there. And MarineLorD, look at him machine gunning those bad boys down, just really focusing them down, but now going back to a shift click. Not enough APM to click them all down super duper fast. No real need to at this point. You're not against the Rus. You're not competing for gold.
The interesting thing with MarineLorD's scouts play here from the School of Cavalry is that he's sacrificing Knights production, so there is some risk involved here, but luckily for him, TheMista isn't playing aggressive. In fact, he's voting himself up here.
Excuse me as I just had some of my yogurt there. So 3 scouts out now for Mista as well. So we've got a total of 3 scouts on the field for each player at this point, so they'll be looking to secure their own hunts initially. So no theft, no yoinks happening at this stage. But now Mista going to be chasing out these hunts, going to be picking them all up, doing a pretty decent job here. Going to be cleaning that up and securing his first safe food source of the game. And now we see MarineLorD doing the same thing as well. Going to be bringing those back, and got a couple knights here on the back flank as well, just to protect against any potential raids coming in. And now, speaking of raids, wake up, there they are. And he chases that knight back, getting some good connection there, but obviously he'll heal up that damage as well.
Such a good idea from TheMista. He knew exactly that at some point MarineLorD might loop around and try to hit the gold mine, so he just stationed a couple of his own knights here to try and prevent any kind of raid like that. And the moment he sees that that knight is coming in, he can just react to it.
Yeah, very, very smart move from him. So I think my question, or my thinking now moves towards the mid game. We've seen that both players have somewhat mirrored each other, both going for professional scouts, both going for survival techniques, getting those all-important upgrades. So where do we go from here? Do we see a potential castle switch from both players?
You sort of have to, because you're not doing a lot of damage to your opponent, and if you are just staying in Feudal Age for long, your opponent is going to beat you to Castle Age, get some Arbaletier out, and suddenly your knights will melt like butter.
Or more importantly, just get upgraded knights. And no, who needs Arbaletier when you've got knights, Lidicor? More knights now moving up towards the north. I'm hoping that we get to see some Arbaletier out this game. For anybody unfamiliar, it is the unique crossbow for the French, and it does an absolute huge amount of damage to your armored enemy units.
Mista's playing very, very defensive despite investing a lot into his army. You see, he keeps popping out knights, yet he hasn't even moved out of his base, so he just wants to make sure he doesn't die to MarineLorD in Feudal Age.
Yeah, pretty smart move from him to be able to do this. He's got a significant score lead. I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from at the moment. It might just be that he's actually got units out on the field compared to MarineLorD, who doesn't have units out on the field, so it doesn't really translate over to score just yet. But look at that mass difference. Though, I take that back. A lot of those are scouts. Both players now going to be continuing to collect in those hunts. We see MarineLorD towards the north of his base, continuing to round up those all-important deer. But now MarineLorD going to have enough resources to go up to the next age, going up with what looks to be the guild hall, I'm assuming. But we'll take a look over at his base. Beside that, we've also got... I'm curious exactly how many resources, the Mista's got. Yeah, it's always tough having the income per minute up in the top. I know that chat often requests, can we see income per minute? To be honest, I don't think this is a very relevant statistic. I think the most important thing is seeing how close Mista is to age up. There we go. So Mista continuing to age up. About 300 resources, 200 resources away here. Have we got the guild hall going down for Yes, okay, so it is the Guildhall going down for MarineLorD here. What's your preference on Guildhall versus the Royal Institute, Litikor?
I feel like in this situation, you gotta go Guildhall. It's something that just makes your economy so much better the longer you are safe. Oh, that knight gets surrounded. That's pretty bad for MarineLorD. So you really just
Yeah.
want to go for the Royal Institute if you are planning to fight immediately. Now, MarineLorD might need to fight here, and suddenly he's in a bit of a precarious position, getting outnumbered heavily by those yellow knights.
Yeah, this is a difficult spot for MarineLorD. Mister's now going to be continuing his aggression over the map. And as a result, it means it's a little bit difficult for MarineLorD. Now, keep in mind, okay, he's got his hunt underneath his town center. He's going to have the Guildhall coming up as well, which is going to give him an income of whatever resource he chooses. But there is a window here where he could isolate the gold. Where is MarineLorD's gold at the moment? Is it particularly safe? Oh, it gets spotted out by the Mr. Scout as well. I would expect that we're going to see a little bit of a roundabout happening here, Litikor.
It's possible. Spearmen are now coming out for MarineLorD, but doesn't even have the hardened upgrade. Town Center helping out quite a bit with arrow fire. But I would expect a couple more knights to arrive soon and try to hit this gold.
Yeah, this is a really difficult spot for Mr. I think he's actually going to be in a very good position here. He has got a mass advantage over his opponent. Still MarineLorD aging up, still yet to get up to that next stage, but keep in mind MarineLorD only tapping away with 3 villages by the looks of it. Compare that to his opponent who is tapping up with 5, so going to have a nice little bit of an acceleration there. And now this gold mine gets isolated, and this might actually be a good game right here. I don't think that there's any real way that MarineLorD's going to be able to hold this gold mine. Now, he can put towers up here, but the mass for his opponent is so big at this point. Now we've got a raid heading in towards the west side of the base. Going to be able to repel that one. And got to be careful of these knights. Doesn't want to lose these. Doesn't want to take too much damage on them. How do you feel right now that MarineLorD is doing?
He's in a difficult spot. He's just not getting the knight upgrade. The problem is that he's outnumbered. So he needs to utilize technology advantage, but he just doesn't have it anymore because Mista is also up to castle.
It's a really difficult spot being in this position for France. You never want to be making spears. It feels terrible because your opponent gets to choose when they want to fight you. Unless you are pushing into their base, they get to choose where and when they fight you. And as a result, it means by having the spears, you're always going to be down on knight numbers, which means you can never really push out of your base. You don't have map control. And then on top of that, your enemy can very easily switch into a counter unit, an archer, springald combination, whatever it is that they want to do. So for me, watching this game right now, when you are making spears, it is an act of desperation as the French. And I can only feel that MarineLorD is feeling terrible right now and probably realizes that this game is going to be over as long as he can, as long as this gold is threatened.
You see that
More
he has
knights
to...
now. Oh, yeah, go for it.
You see that he has to withdraw his gold from his guild hall simply because he needs that gold to produce knights, whereas behind this one, Mista is not forced to do that, so Mista's gold income over there is going to increase as we proceed deeper into the game.
Yeah, on top of that, we've got spears that continue to try and fight against these knights, and this is something that I talk about quite a bit. This is why spears are just really not the right unit choice against knights, and it's partly because they get picked off so easily. 5 spears going down. We see the bodies on the ground right now, and MarineLorD is in a really tough position. Mr. continuing to pull ahead, up about 700 score at this point. Going to be looking to pick off more spears. We've got veteran units out against each other. On the north side of the base, look at the mass now for Mr. Absolutely massive. I don't think there's any way that MarineLorD gets back into this.
He's in a very, very difficult spot, and you see that the knights from Mista are just passing this gold mine that could be an alternative for MarineLorD, and this gold mine is also exposed. There's just no second option here for MarineLorD.
The only way I could think he could potentially get back into this game is maybe through a castle on a gold mine, but even then, how do you get all the resources for that in the first place? And now a town center going to be going down. I mean, this isn't terrible. This is basically the next best thing to a castle, but the issue that I'm having right now is that MarineLorD's got such a small amount of units that Mr. could probably kill his entire army and then just begin to siege him down. Mr. looking very strong right now, commanding lead for him, and going to be able to push in underneath this town center if he chooses to do so. Second gold mine now coming up for Mr. as well. Now, Mr. Well, actually, in the front of the base for MarineLorD. He's really going for a Hail Mary right now. He's hoping that he can hold on with a spear timing here. This is really, really tough.
He kind of needs to do this right now. He can't match the knight numbers of the opponent. And at this point, the best thing he can hope for is that he holds off these knights and plays a long game.
That's really it. That is all he can really hope for. But the problem that he's got right now is that Mista's actually pushing underneath the TC. It looks like he's committing right now. He is really going to town, and he is completely surrounding this. It looks like GG is definitely going to be called here. I can't see any possible way that MarineLorD manages to hold this, and good game gets called, ladies and gentlemen. We are heading to a game number 5. You expected it, you suspected it, and we have indeed got it for you, baby. Oh, yeah.
The equation is simple. Whoever wins in here will get to the semifinals. Whoever loses is out of the tournament. With that being said, we will have MarineLorD on the left side of the map as Blue French, and once again in yellow is TheMista as Abbasids on the right side.
And both players now going to be dropping down a lumber camp in the first age. No real surprise here. Both players looking to secure that early dock advantage. Mr. going to be dropping down that dock. He does have access to some nearby deep sea fish or deep water fish, so going to be very happy with himself. Both players being pretty good there. Actually, take a look at MarineLorD for a sec up towards his north. Okay, he's actually going out in the right direction. I thought his scout is heading along that shoreline up towards the north, and I was a bit scared. Is that that's not a deep sea fish right there, is it? A little bit of a gap there, but fish seem to be pretty even at the moment on this spawn. Though a little bit of a concerning dock placement for MarineLorD. This is actually going to open him up to a bit of a little bit of a vacancy over there, my friend. How do you feel about this one, Lidicor?
That's a tough one, although I feel like it doesn't really matter that much for MarineLorD because he's bound to win water anyways. So it's going to come down to having water control versus no water control. Once Hugs come out, it's going to be at least short fishing for him, and his opponent should not have any fish going for him.
Well, were you here when I gave my theory as to how this game is going to unfold? You probably weren't. That's okay.
Nope.
So
I was taking a short break myself.
Okay, so I am going to tell you how I think this is going to unfold. I think TheMista is going to dock up everywhere. I think you're going to see docks up the north. I think you're going to see docks on that trading post island where the sacred site is. I think you're going to see docks over on MarineLorD's side as well. I think you're going to see him go for some crazy docks, so probably even getting a transport ship out and looking to dock up the entire map. And ideally, he just wants to try and keep his food income alive as long as possible. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my prediction. Whether that actually happens, who knows? But then using that food to transition into a full-blown economy on the land. So whether we see 2 TCs out of him, 3 TCs out of him, who knows? Who knows?
It's a possibility. Nice dock on both sides. Fun fact, there is a reference to the nice dock. I'm not sure if you have heard about that, but currently the game censors if you type in nice dock.
Yes, yes, it does. So you guys in the Twitch chat are going to be able to compliment MarineLorD's and Mista's docks. But if this was in-game and you were spectating, you wouldn't be able to compliment their docks at all. But now we take a look at MarineLorD, how he's doing. Actually quite heavy on wood still in this transition period. So he is still yet to age up, but taking a look over at his opponent's side, TheMista, he's yet to drop down that landmark, so he is also going to be focusing on getting this wood in. Now dropping down his House of Wisdom, the unique, the only landmark that the Abbasids get to make. Oh, I'm looking forward to this matchup. If there's ever been a game for this matchup to happen, it is TheMista versus the MarineLorD on Boulder Bay. I'm excited. I'm really excited, Lida.
I love how TheMista is placing it at the back of his base, because one thing that we should know about the House of Wisdom and the Abbasids is that the landmark victory condition still stands. If the Abbasids lose their town center and their House of Wisdom, they are out. So if you place it on the front, it's very much exposed to any kind of aggression. So you gotta make sure that it's at the back. It's not like other civilizations where you can have one landmark at the back that guarantees that you don't get defeated with that victory condition.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of extra health, but at the end of the day, it's really not going to be enough to guarantee it survives. So important to definitely place it a little bit more secure. But now we spot TheMista. I'm curious to see what he's got in mind. An economic wing going to be opening up for us. So far the plan looks to be going the way, and we do see that early town center beginning to potentially come out, dumping onto stone nice and early. Now, keep in mind, it looks like the scout is trying to get through over towards Mister's base, so we're able to take a look and see whether he's going to be able to make his way around. It does seem like he may get through, and he is going to spot out the stone eventually. When he spots that stone, he should know what's up, and I'm curious to see how his reaction is. There's that stone. He spots a couple villagers on it, just a handful, just 5 villagers at the moment, and now spotting out the fishing ships as well, MarineLorD does. So he's going to know, okay, I need to build a hulk. And that is an important piece of information for him to know. Now we see towards the north, it looks like a single villager moving out towards this northern shoreline for TheMista, potentially dropping down another dock, and MarineLorD actually scouting this one out as well. Very unfortunate timing from this, or maybe he's baiting it out. Maybe TheMista has done the math and said, hold on a minute, I'm going to go pretend to put another dock up here. But no, he's actually putting another dock up there.
That's a dream of fishing right there, even though some of those shore fishes will be replaced by the dock. But nonetheless, the idea is good. You're trying to just stretch out the attention of those hulks, because one thing that hulks are not really good in is mobility. They're just very, very slow.
Correct. So the way I'm thinking about this, okay, you can probably, in this situation, you can probably try and outmaneuver your enemy. So if you can get a couple dows in behind their docks, you can idle them. Now, you're not going to win the war against them, but you could idle them. You could probably go for a fast castle here as well and potentially look to get some backlows out, but even then, probably not going to work.
Yeah, I think the big problem with the Buglaws is that those still lose to Hawks, because the Buglaw is not a clear attack ship. It's a mixture of an attack ship and an archer ship. So, one-on-one, a Hawk is going to beat a Buglaw. Second TC coming in here for TheMista. It's going to be on the berries, something that helps the Abbasids quite a bit. He will still need to make a mill here so he can boost the amount of food he has on the berries.
Yeah, he's very happy with himself at this point in time, and I think this is the optimal build order. He's going to be able to try and convert this into a land economy and try and even up the economy. He knows he's going to be behind. He's playing against the French, but I would expect we would probably witness an equally greedy build order out of MarineLorD here as well. So I'm looking to see whether he's on any kind of stone at this stage. We're able to check in his base and see whether he's gathered up any stone yet.
Nope, no stone for him.
Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, no stone coming out just yet, but may potentially look towards that fast castle. How is the front of TheMista's base looking? I'm curious to see, is he got an opportunity to wall here? You could probably get a nice little wall in there, couldn't you?
He needs to, because that primary gold is quite exposed. He's got one at the back, so it's not the end of the world if he loses it. But there is knights coming out already from MarineLorD, so he needs to do something to keep those out.
Yeah, not only knights coming out, but also a Hulk going to be coming out as well for MarineLorD. So looking to do the dirty on the ocean. He looks like he's just guarding his own fishing ships at the moment, though. So interesting for MarineLorD. So maybe he knows that the Abbasids got a little bit of yeah, there it is, the Dow coming around the back, and that actually got scouted up by, I believe, the knight on the edge of the map. So very, very smart by MarineLorD to sort of wait for this. And now you can see he's doing that dirty little dance that he does with the Hulks. Spin to win, baby.
And the thing is that at this point, Mista has to be happy with the fact that he has any kind of water control, really, as he's sending out the Dow to the north as well. It's all about using that mobility and just trying to make sure that even if he loses his own fishing eco, he wants to take down most of MarineLorD's one as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think it's a very smart move because you can't fight directly against the French on water, but you can kind of be annoying to them. We see that he does get a garrison in there. 2 Hulks now moving out together. The second Dow going to try getting off a little damage onto the warships of the French, but obviously not doing a lot of damage. Take a look over at the docks in his base, and now the Dow getting out and beginning to burn down these fishing boats. First one going down, second one going to be going down here as well. Does he manage to get it? It looks like the shot's going to go through. He manages to... There it goes. There it goes. And now taking out more. He's got to be careful not to lose them, though. He is spinning to win right now. And I think Mister's just going to be happy stopping this food income. He's sort of like saying, if I can't have water, you can't either. That sort of thing. So a very smart move from him.
He had 3 fishing ships up north, and that is just enough to jump into a dock. And at this point, if you look at the resources, Mista, I think, has survived the worst, because he's getting close to Castle Age, and that's where his options open up against the Hawks. Yeah,
it's a really nice play from the Mista here. I do like this. Actually, I'm not going to spoil the first series for you guys. I'll let you guys watch that. But yes, this is a really nice play. And I think it's quite a smart move from him because he's not overly investing in the water. He's used the resources from the water to get himself up to castle age. You can see he's very close now, only 100 food away from that. And at the same time, behind this, are we able to check and see if he researched fresh foodstuffs?
He most certainly did. Indeed, he has it.
He did indeed. So he's going to be having half-price villages here. Feeling very good about himself, definitely. He would be very happy with this opening. We able to do a quick stock take on village account as well. So 41 villages now for MarineLorD. Compare that over to TheMista, who sits on 45. He is going to be pleasantly happy with that and really demonstrating here that the Abbasids are viable on Boulder Bay. I think he's done a great job of just giving him the runaround on water. MarineLorD does look to have a bit of a higher score at the moment, but keep in mind a lot of that score is going to be invested in his age up, or rather TheMista's age up. So once he gets up to that third age, his score is going to appropriately boost as well. What kind of unit composition are you thinking that we're going to see out of MarineLorD and TheMista here?
TheMista is most likely going to play Men-at-Arms, Spearmen, and then Springolds. That's something that he just loves to do. Make those Springolds on the battlefield. The real question is how MarineLorD is going to defend against that.
That's a good question. We saw Mista take advantage of that earlier. Now, keep in mind, it's the Mongols as well as the Abbasid that can do that. So there is the potential that we could see just a mass Springold campaign coming out from TheMista, and I really wouldn't be surprised. He has used them before to great success. Maybe we see the exact same thing, and take a look at his macro. Macro actually lining up pretty effectively with this mass Springold timing push. Village is going to be coming out as well. I'm curious what this is all about. Maybe a potential outpost getting thrown down here, Lidakor?
Possible. I mean, he could try securing the trade for himself, and that would give a massive boost to his economy. Speaking of which, he is aging up with the culture wing, so no trade wing for him. He doesn't go that ambitious.
Yeah, okay. Very curious that he hasn't gone for the military wing here, but now Scout going to be scouting out his enemy's base, but we got ourselves a little bit of a proxy Rax over here. Mista going for a bit of cheese right now, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my lord, if there's something I love to do with all my whining, it's having a bit of cheese on the side. Oh yeah, baby. This is it right now. This is it. Mista actually got a very nice build order here. I'm suspecting we're going to see Springolds coming out any seconds. There it is. The Springold getting dropped down. Mista is going all in. I'm smelling it right now.
Palisade walls coming in for MarineLorD, but I think the real thing he needs is stone walls. It's going to be difficult because his only stone mine is very much exposed here, and currently he's sitting on 0 stone. Probably will try to go for his own Men-at-Arms, but Men-at-Arms and Springolds from Mista will just beat that.
Yeah, and on top of this, I don't think MarineLorD's actually scouted any of this so far that's pushed up. He's got a knight in the base of TheMista, but that's not really what matters. There's a couple of spears back here, and he probably just thinks at the moment that everything is going to plan. Because, you know, TheMista has got up to the castle age, he's got his second TC, he's going to take a bit of time for booming, but he may be using the timing that he's used to on land-only maps. He has not scouted anything that's happening up here. Really smart by Mista as well to bring this forward base along the edge of the map, going to prevent any sort of harassment from those hulks. Always we see those hulks camping along the edge of the water, just like MarineLorD is doing right now, and that would be picking off units. So now there is a window for MarineLorD to hit, or rather for Mista to hit, and we start to see his score begin to build up about 300 points right now as the battering ram begins to make way for the walls. See you later, nerd. These battering rams are definitely going to be doing very well here. Springold's on the back line, and it looks like MarineLorD is in a bit of a difficult spot. Now reaching the third age, Lidakor, is there any way that he is going to be able to defend this bush?
It's gonna be a tough one, simply because it's gonna be so easy for the Mista to reinforce his army. Not only the Men-at-Arms, but also the Springolds. And we have seen how powerful Springolds can be. You see that. There has to be siege workshops coming in here for MarineLorD, but he's already off from gold, so Men-at-Arms production is gonna be somewhat troublesome. And his opponent has a pretty considerable advantage into Castle Age technologies as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So one of the things to note is that with these spears, they also have access to the phalanx upgrade. Have we seen that one come through just yet from the Abbasids? Nope. Not yet. All right, so going up to the culture wing, but not looking to get that preservation of knowledge just yet, but continuing to drop these down. MarineLorD stacking up a lot of resources himself right now, sitting on about 1,100 floated resources. He's got his own siege coming out. It looks like he may have a Springold in queue at the moment, but he's never going to be able to match the numbers of TheMista. TheMista's got, he doesn't even need access to the Siege Workshop. He's absolutely fine just dropping these down with all of these spears on the front line. Look how quickly they come up as well. He's going to be able to continue. And you know what? This Siege Workshop's in a really difficult spot. He's going to be able to camp on top of it. Anything comes out of this, he is going to be able to kill it almost immediately. So watch out for that as it happens. We see the Springald. He's trying to rally it towards the back. Does he get the snipe? Oh, it actually pops out the back. So not too bad right there. Gets off a nice little shot. Lidicor, he looks like he's in trouble though.
He's in trouble. He has lost multiple houses, so he was housed for some time, just slowing down that man-at-arms production even more. And as I said, it's gonna be just much easier for Mista to reinforce his army here, and soon villagers will need to be pulled to take that ram down.
I can't believe I'm saying this. French have been picked a lot of times in this series, but it looks like we may actually be having French go down again as the men-at-arms begin to push forward against those spears. Springald's on the back line, going to be doing their best to dish out damage, using the cover that the spears provide to make sure that they're able to survive. At the same time, on the back line, it looks like a Springald getting traded out for a Springald, and MarineLorD trying his best to hold on right now. The men-at-arms continue flailing their swords on the back line. We've got these just siege monsters that continue putting out so much damage. It's absolutely insane how much damage these guys do. 60 damage, an extra 20 against Siege. I'd love to see that flipped around. Maybe 20 damage against units, 60 extra against Siege. But right now, it's incredibly difficult for MarineLorD to stop this.
If not impossible. Right now, he has no more Springalds to take down the opponent's Springalds. So from this point on, this is just something that's going to tear apart any kind of unit. Look at this. A single knight pops out and it insta-dies to the Springolds.
They're crazy. They are very, very good at the moment. Probably a bit overtuned, but undoubtedly now MarineLorD having a difficult time, and TheMista really using it to his strength. And now we see good game getting called. TheMista takes the victory 3-2 in the semi or the quarterfinals. He goes through to the next round. He's going to be going up against his opponent and taking a chance, a shot at that $20,000 prize pool. Good game, ladies and gentlemen.